So Christine, I know from Mastermind. Which one were you on?
4.
Mastermind 4.
But you're giving everything away.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll find out more about Christine. So I guess with that, I'll bring up to the stage Christine Hertog.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a bit loud. I'm not used to speaking with a microphone, so please bear with me. Right, I'm going to try to inspire you. I'm not anyone extraordinary, but the only thing I have done is I've taken action, and I want to inspire you to at least take action this year, because we're at the beginning of a new era, I think. Anyway, so this is my title, Magic of Property, Win-Win Strategies and the Future. And this is what I'm going to talk to you about, just a little bit about who I am, because it's important that you situate me somewhere in the universe and what I've done before. The magic of property, I've got 3 ingredients there, which I think are fantastic. One of them, which is a little bit tricky at the moment, and I'll show you why. The win-win strategies is I've always acquired properties, but with a little twist that everyone wins in this, and I don't want to take the last bit of profit in something. Why not share it around? It's so much more important, and it gives me quite a good feeling, and that's important too, isn't it? You need to have fun. And the future, I'm going to have my crystal ball and tell you what I'm thinking is going to happen. Okay, now I'm just going to show you, this is because I've got a slight accent, and these fries are not French fries, but they're Belgian fries. And we invented the fries, right? I'm sure you agree with me. I became a dietitian. You wouldn't think so now, but anyway. And then it was so boring trying to get people to lose weight that I became a stewardess. And in those days, it was really exciting in the beginning of the 80s, long time ago. Anyway, I married my captain. Also one of these things that happens, And of course, oops, there we are. We had 2 children. And then I started doing some, well, that's what happens, right? The other one is hidden, it's not there yet. But they're now 31 and 29, so long time ago. And then I did some market research. I lived in Spain for about 14 years. And I had a great life. I didn't have time to work, quite honestly. That was my life. But when I came here for the education of the children mostly, I thought, okay, I've got to do something. And because I speak several languages, I became a market researcher. Hence that little typewriting lady. So, as a property investor, in 2008, so I started in 2006, I had a 2-hour seminar where I thought, oh, this property business, this is great. I didn't really know about mortgages as well, but somebody told me mortgages were a good thing if they are allowing you to get more money from them, of course. So I started investing, I was working, I sort of bought some deals, and they were all bad, except one. But I decided then I needed some guidance. I needed something more than just a 2-hour seminar to get into and listen to people who were not quite. It was Inside Track. Anyone heard of those? Anyway, yeah, okay. By this movement of the head, I realize. But they did teach me something, is that education is going to get me further and avoid these big mistakes. And of course, at that time, Property Magic book did not exist. But I met Simon at a Property Magic conference, 2-day conference, and he accepted me in Mastermind 4. It was rather funny. But anyway, I just took action. Went ahead and bought 6 properties. Don't forget that this was 2008, 2009, pretty hard. Everyone was very worried about what was going to happen in the market. But, yeah, I just took action. I sort of jump first and then think afterwards. So it does get me into a few problems. However, 2011, I decided to go full-time property. I I'm not quite sure how many properties at that time, about 15, 16, something like that. And you just don't have time to do anything else because you do need to manage, right? It's all nice to buy, but you have to manage all that stuff. What a headache. But, yes, and so at the moment I've got 30, and I think that's quite a good size for me. Oops, that's going far too fast. In 2013, I became the Cambridge PIN host. Simon asked me that. And I thought, oh, this is a new challenge. I thrive on challenge. I don't know if anyone else thrives on that sort of thing. But we've grown the meeting. And the last time, we had 62 investors. And I was so chuffed to bits because it has taken 2 years. But then I thought it would be a good idea to be a parish councillor. Planning section, of course, just to know a little bit more about what was happening in planning. Was anyone else a parish councillor? No? Not yet? Not yet. Or you might think about it. And just at the beginning of the year, I became the NLA rep, so the National Landlords Association. It just gives that other side. It's good to be a property investor, but do know what you are managing as well. I don't flip. I've done one flip, but I don't normally do that. So for me, that was an important thing. Right, magic of property investing. 3 magic ingredients. Leverage, I should say. It's not leverage here, isn't it? Inflation and time. And the big problem now is inflation. Do you know why? Anyone an idea? Yeah, it's at 0. Who would have thought? I should change really the presentation and think about something else. But for me, that was really important. Leverage, of course, we all know that the bank is going to lend you most of the money to buy the property. So I think that's pretty powerful. And the rest, the monthly mortgage, is going to be paid by your tenant. Brilliant. Once I understood that, it just makes you understand that mortgages are a good thing. So, inflation, a rise in prices over time. However, there are no rises at the horizon at the moment in the UK. But if you think about it, mostly inflation would be around 2%, 3%, 3.5% perhaps. Well, that's a good thing for us property investors because we normally buy with an interest-only mortgage. So your debt 10 years later, 20 years later, is going to be not much if you don't keep on remortgaging, right? A lot of people have it as an exit strategy. You remortgage. But in my case, for instance, my house, I mortgaged it up to what I thought quite high, 75%. And now, in the space of 5 years, okay, I do live in Cambridge, but it has gone down to 50%. And I'm hoping just to keep it going like that for a little while longer. So there you are, debt erosion. And of course the other one is time, right? I mean, we all know it's really important. Is it going to come here? Because even if you make a mistake and you pay a little bit too much for your property, and it's a negative equity perhaps, as long as your mortgage term is long enough, you actually can just keep on going. As long as it gives you an income, so always buy for income. But it's very forgiving. I always think about it as a bad haircut. Well, yeah, just leave it a bit longer, and you won't see it, or you won't feel it. In this case, and it also, of course, determines what sort of actions you want to take. If you want to flip, then that's going to be short time. You have to then look more on how the market is around you. Is it easy to sell? I did one flip, which I'm not going to talk about, but that one, it was just the wrong time, just tiny bit, 6 months too early. So it took me a year to sell it. Well, between the refurb and then selling it and completing on it. So I bought it in November and sold it in October. But anyway, I still did 16% for one of my investors and 11% for the other one. But I would have liked to get it much quicker. But I could have done other things, right? I could have rented it out for a while and waited. It's a gamble sometimes. Right. Now, the win-win model, and I'm going to show you that with five case studies, so I better get going. Okay, this one is a London one, and I just wanted to explain this one because I bought a lead from Network Property Buyers. I don't know if anyone has heard about them. They're the Wealth Dragons, John Lee and so forth. Yeah. I was in quite close contact at the time, and they said, well, we've got a bit of a problem with this seller here. He wants to sell this studio flat very close to Loughborough Junction in Brixton, but he won't go down another 5,000, and we need that 5,000 in order to sell it to somebody else. So it was on the market for 147. Let me just... and yes, he wanted to go back to Spain. He was an opera singer. And of course, I lived in Spain, right? And my Spanish isn't fantastic, but really quite decent to negotiate on price. So as soon as I met him, I mean, he had put the price down to 115. So he was already down to 120, and then down to 115. But let me show you then a little bit what actually happened with the financials. So I bought it in 2010, 115,000. I did have finder's fee, which was really low for a London flat. I couldn't get a mortgage at that time because for some reason I had forgotten to fill in my electoral roll. It's not important anymore, right? Because it keeps on going and it's online now. But in those days, 5 years ago, you had to do that. And I had forgotten. So instead of having in the 900s, I went down to 647 or something at the time. Couldn't get a mortgage. Don't forget 2010, it's really complicated. But, so I asked my daughter's boyfriend, who was a fireman, and because he had a good job, he was able to get an easy mortgage. So he was my mortgage host. It cost me £2,000 because he wanted to get a new kitchen for his new extension. Perfect, right? £2,000. And of course then I have a tiny bit of refurb because I put an LHA tenant in there, a housing benefit tenant. And Lambeth Council pays really good money for a tiny studio flat. I think I got 810 every month. Brilliant. That's what you want, isn't it? Thank you. And so, really, I was making... Oops, I'm going far too fast here. I was making, here, £330 a month, doing nothing. And I never had a void. However, in 2013, something happened that the people downstairs were complaining. And they phoned me up, and I tried to get in contact with my tenant. For ages, I couldn't. So I found out that he had been, or he was, in prison. So I know it's a bit naughty, but I thought to myself, no, I'll give him, at the time, I'll give him a Section 21, and then get him out, and then let's find out what we can do with that flat. I looked on Home Track, and to my astonishment, it had gone from 147 to 179. So I thought, okay, maybe how about just selling it, getting rid of it? Should have kept it, but sometimes it's good to realize your profit. So the first day that it was on the market, or the first viewing, was a Saturday, and we had 12 to 13 people came that day. It was just one after the other. And there was a little bit of a bidding war. And also, my estate agent had said, no, I think we could put it on the market at 175 and probably get 170 for it. But I had seen it on Home Track, 179, so why don't we put it at 179, right? And then there was a bit of a battle. It went up to 185, but then there was a little bit of a problem with the roof. So I said, okay, 183, that's fine, I'm happy with that. But when you look at the house, what I should have done, there's just not one strategy, you can just mix them up. I should have had planning permission for a flat, or at least another room up there. Live and learn, right? I thought I knew it all. So, there you are. But I'm thinking, okay, the person after me will have the joy to do that. And they're there, they're going, the owner-occupier. So I think it's going to be good. So anyway, my net profit for that one was 77. This is what I like to look at, win-win. So the seller was able to move back and look after his father in Spain. And because he couldn't get everything organized, we had already completed on the property, but I gave him another month there, free. So it all helps, right? The mortgage host had a new kitchen, and really he was very fair, because he's the ex-boyfriend now. It's all finished. But he was very fair. It took a bit of a while before he signed the papers and so forth, but I could have done it without him, because I had power of attorney. And I had a deed of trust behind it that protected my investment, because I put in the deposit. And the quick sale commission, network property buyers were happy. Right, this one, sorry about the picture, but really it's one of these maisonettes in Peterborough, and you can buy these really cheap, they're at the moment, they're about 90,000, but they're 2 bedrooms on the top floor, and then you have your lounge and kitchen here, and a little bit of a terrace, and then you come into the property here. These are garages, okay? I went to see it, and it was a family with 2 children. They only had 2 rooms, and they wanted to have 3 rooms, and also to move closer to babysitters, which were the family, right? And so, when I saw it, it was on the market for 70,000, and I offered 62. I thought that was a pretty good price, but they refused. 6 months later, I see something similar, but not in a good condition. And I said to the agent, who was the same one, what about that other property? Is that still on the market? And he said, yes. I said, well, let me talk to the vendors. Maybe I can help them. And that same evening, we concluded with a lease option, heads of terms, that I was going to pay the mortgage, which was a repayment mortgage at 350. This was a very young couple. They had received 40 years of mortgage. I mean, perfect. I wish I could have that now. But at my age, they only give me like 10 years or something. But, so that was fine. And also, the term was going to be 7 years. So here are the financials. They were able to move out and rent something else. He had a good job, so it wasn't a big problem. So the legals, the estate agent was going to ask for £2,000. Thank you. And because the other seller had a good job, I said, let me pay half of it and you pay the other half. So for me, it was only 600. I had a little bit of a refurb, because in this case, there was a bit of a shambles with electricity, so I preferred to have everything new, consumer unit and so forth. But it was straight away let to a Polish couple, 565. So there's about £200 every month for me there. Now, what I did say, win-win again, they had bought this property 85,000, so they were 15,000 loss. So every year, after 7 years, I'm going to give them £1,000 every year. But monthly, right? That's £83 or something like that per month. And actually, they want me to keep that mortgage. But, and I want it as well. I mean, can you imagine when we ought to complete in 7 years, the repayments mortgage will have gone down to 63 instead of 70. So it's all win-win. And at the moment, it's worth about 85, so it's gone back up. Peterborough has really increased. And I'm quite chuffed because I've got 10 houses there. So 10,000, 15,000 each, do the maths. It's quite easy. Anyway, there you are. Now this one, just to show you that these things take time, it's not, or at least my deals take time. Maybe yours are going to be much better. But this is a family who wanted to go to Whitehaven from Peterborough. And I saw this advertised on Rightmove, called the agents and so forth, had a look at it, and I said, well, I can't offer you 79,000 because it was a little bit messy. But I can offer you, I don't know, 70 or something, or 65, I think I said. But otherwise, I'll rent it from you until I buy it later on. So another lease option. The other one, by the way, I actually did as an exchange with delayed completion. So I cannot change my mind, and they cannot change their mind. But this one is a lease option. So when you look at the maths, it was, whoops, I'm not very good at this one. Okay, this is very small. I'm sure nobody can see it from the back. Okay, 79,500, that's what it was on the market for. The outstanding mortgage was 72,000, but I saw it in 2011, right? 2 years passed because he had an accident and he actually couldn't move to Whitehaven. They did try, but if you want to rent something with 3 kids, snakes, 2 cats, 2 dogs, you can imagine the scenario? They wanted me to be a guarantor. I wouldn't have minded to do that if they gave me their house, because it's a 3-bedroom house, but, we couldn't find anything. But just at that time, she phones me up 2.5 years later, and she says, I think we can buy 2 houses in Whitehaven, because he received 70,000 from the insurance, claim, or, yeah. And of course, because they had been on housing benefits to pay their mortgage, the council took 20,000, so only 50,000 was left. But she told me, I think I found a nice house, I really want to go and buy it. So I said, okay, so when are you going to view it? She says, in about 2 weeks, because we can't find a hotel for all our kids, dogs, and so forth. Because there was a music festival or something like that. I said, no, you've got to go straight ahead. Straight away, go and view it. Because it was a repossession. You know how quick you have to be, right? So I said, okay, tell you what, because he couldn't drive, right? He had this accident. Tell you what, I'll take you, and we'll go together. And we'll go and view it and make the offer and so forth. And it was on the market for 45,000. 3-bedroom house. It's amazing what you can find elsewhere. You can't even build for that, right? So I took her up there, but I had no idea, right? Don't forget I'm Belgian. No idea that it was 6 hours away. Anyway, it all went well. I helped her buy it and so forth. But so if you can see here, well, I'm sure you can't see, right? 73% return on investment. That's huge. And the current value is 110. Don't forget that I'm buying it at the mortgage, 73,000. Right? But I am giving her also a share of the profits. Anything above 75,000, I will give her 15%. So they want to work with you. They want to be involved and so forth. And she's lovely, actually. Bless her. This is a rent-to-rent. So you see, I like different strategies. I got some leaflets out almost 5 years ago. Once, 6,000. And no answers. None at all. This was very disappointing. Anyway, 3 months later, I get one call. And this man says, yes, I'm interested in selling. I've got this house in Cambridge. And really, I live in London. It's a bit difficult for me to look after it. But it's an HMO and so forth. Well, not a licensed HMO, but an HMO. So 6 rooms, 5 rooms and a studio. So I did a little bit of B&V, below market value and so forth, offer. But for once in my life, I gave him 3 or 4 different strategies or offers. And one of them was guaranteed rent. So I'm paying for that house 1,325 per month, but I get 2,400, which really means 400 is the utilities and so forth. So I make about 600 500, 600 a month. On a good year, we've had a lot of problems with the boiler, but so it has been a little bit more expensive from time to time. But net income, 6,000. I don't own it. The only thing is that we've come to the end of the 5 years. So I'm hoping that he's going to stay with me, and that might do a little bit of refurb. So anyway, this is just one deal because time is running out. This is a house that I bought for my son at uni. 2 offers were accepted and then withdrawn. And I told my son that he and his 5 other friends could get a house with me. But this was already May, and I still don't have a house. Now that is very stressful. So I went a bracket of houses higher. Instead of going below 200, I went above. And I got a huge discount. Okay, remember I didn't know anything at that time. £2,000. And the house was 270, so huge. And of course I had no idea that I had to pay stamp duty 5%. Anyway, there you are. However, this house makes me 12,000 a year. Because at that time, the mortgage rates were very good, right? It's 2% above base rate. And base rate went down, and I said, hallelujah, brilliant. So you see that sometimes you can buy full market value and still have a good deal out of it. Right, gotta go. The future, right? This is me, crystal ball. I don't know, nobody knows. It could go up, stay stable, or go down. But what I do know is this. We need more properties. There are, I read this yesterday, 26 million households in the UK, and 250 are coming every year on top of that. So, and we're building what, 180 per year? Not even. So this is tragic. Good for us, right? A lot of people want to rent. And then the other thing here, I think as long as you have a great power team, I have a fantastic assistant, Radhika. She has changed my life because she looks after the tenants now, all the regulations and so forth. It's so fantastic. And then I think that you always have to look for win-win solutions. If you offer a solution to people, they will work with you. I think that's brilliant, absolutely important. And then my last thing for you is this, if it works. Don't wait to buy property, right? Buy property and wait. Well, that was a little bit too many little hiccups there. But there you are. Thank you very much, and I hope
That was great. Thank you, Christine. Obviously, lots of experience. I didn't realise you had so many properties.